Good, good, good to see you. Hello, hello. Tonight, I wanted to do a little summer reading wrap up of the books I've read this summer. It's not all of them, but it's the ones that I feel are tied most closely to my summer, like that my reading experience is tied to the summer. So that's what I'll be focusing on tonight. I am hoping to do this in one take. It is incredibly hot in this room, and it was just really hot today. And one of the books I haven't quite finished yet. I'm like this close to finishing it. But I wanted to include it, and I wanted to film tonight despite the heat because I'm about to go on a little family vacation. I'm really excited about that. But because of that, if I don't film tonight, then we won't see each other. We wouldn't have seen each other today, by now, this Monday. So it's just going to be chatty, casual. They're all great books, so I'm really excited to talk to you about them. And let's get into it. The first book I don't think have seen from me yet. It hasn't been in a haul or anything like that. But if you've been here before, watched anything, any of my videos about what I read, then it won't come as a surprise to you that I picked up the new Rachel Cusk book called Parade, Parade, Parade. A novel. So this is a book, I would say, about art and power and gender dynamics specifically within a pretty heterosexual, heteronormative world, but nevertheless about power and art and perspective. I really liked it. I felt that it was a little more abstract in places than some of her other work. Like, it was a little harder to grasp some of the things, especially in the beginning, that she was discussing and developing for the reader. Like, it was a little more conceptual in places, perhaps. But then it became more concrete as it moved on. And the abstraction wasn't really a problem for me anyway, but it was something I noticed or felt. It's divided into 4 sections. Each section is titled for a kind of character, but they're not really characters, or concept. So the first section is called the stuntman. The second section is called the midwife. The third section is called the diver, and the fourth section is called the spy. So my favorite section was the third section, the diver, but all 4 concepts that I just said have really stuck with me. In particular, the first 3, the stuntman, the midwife, and the diver. And I don't want to spoil it for you, so I won't get too much into those. But I think for those passages about the titles of each section alone, this book is worth it to me. And I guess I mentioned the abstraction thing because if you're reading the first section and you're like, why am I not grasping this? Not like you can't understand it, but it's hard to hold some of it in your hand kind of thing. There are characters with just single letters names that overlap and may or may not be the same person, but they aren't, but they are, but they aren't, but they aren't. And switching perspectives, a lot of unnamed characters. It's not even complicated, but it's very disorienting. So, if in the beginning, in the first section, you're like, I'm just not really feeling engaged, I would recommend that you continue reading and see how you feel about it a little later on. I really liked it. So, that is Parade. If you've never read Cusk before, though, I would recommend reading first, just my personal preference, either Second Place, which I love, or Outline, which I love. Okay. And as you may or may not already know, I went on a Natalia Ginsburg kick, a Natalia Ginsburg kick this summer, and I loved it. So here we have Valentino, we have Sagittarius, and we have the Dry Heart. They all take place in 1940s, 1950s Italy. They're all a little dark. They feel deeply personal. They all have characters in them who are not quite as they first appear, which I love. And yeah, I just freaking love her. They're all slim, really easy to sit down with if you're in a reading rut. If you're in a reading rut, like she is your cure. She's a fantastic writer. Like, on a line level, the language is beautiful. Fantastic storyteller. The stories are phenomenal. And they're short. And she has a pretty decent body of work size-wise. So you can really dig in. When I bought The Dry Heart, the cashier and I got to talking, and she was like, Natalia Ginsburg got me out of my reading rut. And I was like, me too, kind of. She's kind of magic. Without spoiling anything, this one is about a young woman who is kind of like waiting for her life to start, feeling like her life is really small. She marries this guy who kind of sweeps her off her feet, thinking that her world is going to be bigger after that. And they just don't really mesh, I'll say. Yeah, and he's older, so he has more of a history than she realized. It's better than what I'm saying. I'm just trying not to spoil anything. And then Valentino is about this brother of the narrator who comes home. He's marrying this woman who's much older than he is, who has a lot of money and is very ugly, and the family has a lot of feelings about that. So that's how that starts. And then Sagittarius, it's about the narrator's mother who moves to a new town hoping for a bougier life and struggles to find it. And she makes friends with this woman who seems to have a lot of desirable connections, and things don't really materialize in the way that they are meant to. And then I bought, what is it? Happiness as Such, which is also by Natalia Ginsburg. That is currently in my backpack because that's what I'm going to read in the airport. So, highly recommend. Great for summer, great for any time of year. Just great, great, great. After that, we have Three Summers. By Margarita Liberacki, who is a Greek writer. She is Greek. And this book is set in Greece when? Good question. I'm not really sure what decade, but not super contemporary, but modern times. And it is about three sisters over the course of 3 summers, how they grow up and their crushes, who they marry, what's going on in town, what they're discovering about their parents in terms of their parents' histories and lives as adults. And it's just really, really, really lovely. It's so beautiful. And beautiful in a simple way, not pretentious, not overwrought, just really beautiful. If you have a sister, if you like dipping into nostalgia for your childhood, summers of childhood where, it just seems endless and you don't even know what day of the week it is, and you're not quite an adult yet, but you're just adult enough to realize that there's more going on in front of you and among people you know than you realized, and then you can fully understand, and trying to piece it together, trying to piece your own self-understanding together and also understanding of the world and of the lives of others. And it's just like really lush and simple and gorgeous, and there's like a lazy quality to it. Like, it's not a slow book, it's not a fast book either, but it's not particularly slow. It reads really well at a really nice leisurely pace, but steady nonetheless. But there's just this kind of like lazy feeling to it in terms of the sisters sitting around and walking through town and just figuring out life, basically. So I can't believe I have never heard of this book before. I'm really glad I picked it up, and I would recommend it. Okay, then we have, I think I must have shown this to you, but I don't know if I mentioned that I read it or not, so I'm going to include it in here because it's like tied to summer for me. So I read also August Blue. Blue by Deborah Levy, who writes in a really like fluid, kind of watery, dreamlike sort of way. This gorgeous cover, so pretty. This one is about a concert pianist who basically like, what's happening to me now? My brain is just wiped clean. She fails to perform well at a big performance, at a big concert, and she chokes, and then her career is kind of up in the air for a bit. So she goes to teach music in Greece and later in Paris and later elsewhere, and it's just a fun read. Her hair is dyed blue. I think it's quite long. She has a belly button piercing, maybe some tattoos. Her blue hair is her signature look, and then she's a world-class musician. So she's just an interesting character, and the way the world works in this book is it's kind of based on these gears of coincidences and synchronicities and a kind of dreamlike quality again things interacting out of time, or things in reality being affected by things that do not exist in reality, and making it sound more supernatural than it is. It's not supernatural, but it is very dreamlike in places. And it's very beautiful. Just kind of washes over you as a story. And there's some really good parts in here, really good characters and dialogues. Like I'm thinking of, it's been a while since I read this, but when the woman, the musician, is in Paris, I think her friend's partner, girlfriend, wife calls her and has something to say about the concert where she messed up. And it's been a while since I read this, but what she says was, it was just so interesting to me. I'm not going to be able to find it, but it's just really well written, and there's some very interesting moments. I think that's what I would say, is that like moment to moment, it reads really well. There are moments in certain scenes in here that I remember better than the story itself, or the story overall. Tiny moments. And I think that's true for me, for most of Deborah Levy's writing. It's a really enjoyable experience. So, and then finally, we have these two Emily Henry books. So, as you may already know, I found these in a tiny library by me. I was very happy to pick them up. I've had a lot of interest in them, and a lot of interest in Emily Henry. She seems like a really interesting and lovely person. But every time at the store, I would pick one up. I just couldn't bring myself to spend money on it. I am not super interested in romance, but I love the resurgence of it. I think it's great. But it's just, you know, I like literary fiction. I like pretentious bullshit, basically, sometimes. So every time I pick this up and flip through it, it wasn't grabbing me, so I didn't want to spend money on it. So I didn't spend money on them. They came instead to me. There were just two in the little library. It was Book Lovers and Happy Place. So I read Book Lovers first, as a book lover is wont to do. I know a lot of you were really interested to see how I felt about these books. I really liked them. I liked Book Lovers a bit better than Happy Place, although that's also not super fair to say, because Happy Place is the book I'm almost done with, but not quite, as you can see. It looks like I have more to go than I do, because there's like a book club thing in the back, and an excerpt from her newest book, and acknowledgements and all that. So I'm actually quite close to the end, but I think I've read enough that I can fairly say that I liked Book Lovers slightly better. The prose is like good. It's not great, but for something that's not literary fiction, I found it really good, never lazy. The story is fun, it's really cozy, and I thought the characters were really well rendered. Again, this genre is not really my kind of thing, but their motivations made sense to me and were well explained without being too boring or, you know, like ham-fisted. Yeah, so I found it to be a really satisfying read. And then, same thing with Happy Place. I thought all the characters were really well rendered. It's an interesting thing for me to read a book with such strongly drawn characters, like detailed characters, because again, it's not usually my thing, but all 6 friends in this, Cleo, Harriet, Wynne, Kimmy, Barth, Sabrina, they were all really well drawn, and I believed in their friendships and all of that. I think, yeah, so I really enjoyed it. I would read more Emily Henry. I also don't feel like I need to read a lot of romance. Like, it's not a hole in my life where I'm like, now that I'm done with these 2, I want more. I'm fine for right now. However, if I found other Emily Henry books in a tiny library, I would definitely pick them up. And it's kind of an idea I have in my head that it will be like Gotta Catch 'Em All kind of thing. Like, I think I won't buy them. I think I will borrow them, find them, read them that way, and hopefully one day read them all. I think that would be interesting, just to be able to compare all the books in her body of work. Yeah, I don't feel like I need to keep reading them straight through or like to consume it all right now. I think romance is fun. I think it's fun to have an easy read. I really like it for summer in particular. I also felt like they were more entertainment than they were thought-provoking or edifying, and not every book has to be thought-provoking or edifying, but I like to read in particular for entertainment, but entertainment's like the 4th thing on the list, and above that is beauty, like with language, or yeah, like to be challenged to see something in a new way or to think about things differently, or to experience something I've never experienced before through those characters, through that story, that kind of thing. And then like 4th is entertainment. And these were just entertainment for me. So while I liked them, they didn't scratch every itch, if you will. And because they're entertainment, the length is great for that purpose, but for me, it felt a little overlong. I was like, I understand that we're developing these scenes and these characters and having lots of different beats in the development of the relationships. That's what makes it satisfying, but I was just at points like, yeah, okay, yeah, you know? And, yeah. The banter didn't bother me too much. I thought it was often very clever, sometimes a little forced, like it didn't fully make sense why there would be banter in that, at that point, you know? And actually the last thing I'll say about this one is that I really didn't like the chapter headings of like happy place and then like not so happy place, gray place, real life, unhappy place, to kind of keep us rooted in time, I guess, as we move from the present into the past and get all the backstory and stuff like that. I found like not quite real life. I just found it annoying for some reason. Like it seemed too hand-holdy while also being kind of like ineffective or not very efficient or something. Basically, it seemed to me like an ineffective system that was cutesy, but also not cutesy enough to warrant its existence or placement. I don't know. I didn't like it. It like rankled me every time I saw like great place, unhappy place, happy place. You know, I'm like, okay, whatever. That said, I did like them. There was a lot that was relatable in both, and I think she's really clever in the way she does that. And like I said, I think she's an interesting person, a really good writer, just talented and seemingly pretty down to earth. So I have no desire to run out and buy more. I have no desire either, I don't think, to read romance beyond Emily Henry. Maybe I'll change my mind in the future, but right now I'm like, I'll just try to happen upon Emily Henry's books as they come out, and I think that will be enough for me. So I'm still 3 behind, I think. And yeah, I'm in no rush. And like, I will never, for example, I don't want to see the Colleen Hoover movie. I don't want to read a Colleen Hoover book. Like, I'm just not even interested. So yeah, just Emily Henry for me, I guess. So that's my summer reading wrap up. I hope you're doing super, super, super well. And if you're not, that's okay too. I will talk to you very soon. And until then, good night.